Well, I can tell you one thing, if you're a renter, you'll never look at an apartment complex the same again. Hey guys, welcome to Happywax TV. So tonight we are talking about a movie called 1BR. Okay, right off the hop, I am not a huge fan of this style of movie. There's just something about, you know, human conditioning and cultish style movies that I'm just highly not interested in. So when I got this movie recommended to me, actually I had a bunch of subscribers message me over the last day or so and asked me if I'd seen this one and, you know, could I talk about it? And, well, you know me, I'm all about the subs. So I sat down and watched it today, and I'll tell you something, I did not hate this movie. Is it going to wow you and blow your socks off? No, it's not. But it's definitely worth a watch. And I mean, we'll get into it. But it's the editing in this movie is great. And I've said this 1,000 times. Like, this is a low budget movie, okay? But and even though we don't have a new story here, you know, it's well written, it's well directed, and it's really well edited to keep the pace going. I didn't find myself bored watching this movie at all. In fact, I don't think I went to my phone once. And again, I am not a big fan of these style of movies. So well done to David Marmor, who is the director, and he also wrote it. So basically it stars, I mean, it's got a bunch of recognizable faces in it. Most notably would be Naomi Grossman. You'll probably recognize her from American Horror Story. She was one of the more popular characters on there. Giles Matthey, I think is his name. I didn't recognize him. Taylor Nichols. I recognized his face right off the hop. He plays kind of the leader of this cult. I recognized him right away from Jurassic Park 3 because for some reason, I love that movie. It's like a lot of people don't like the third Jurassic Park, but I don't know, there was just something about it. But anyways, and then lastly is Nicole Bryden Bloom, who again, I'm not familiar with, but she is the main character in this movie, and she plays Sarah. So basically, in a nutshell, this is about Sarah moving to Los Angeles. She's not unhappy with her job. She wants to get away from her father after her mom passes away. And yeah, so she's looking for apartments, and she finds this one in a complex. You know, they take her right in. They're having this kind of an open house type style, you know what I mean, to bring people in and stuff. So she goes to it, likes the apartment, and takes it. And the first couple of days, you know, are kind of weird. She hears things at night, different noises that keep her up and stuff like that. And then they specifically say when they're asking the renters, and I'm a renter, sorry, I'm a landlord, and I rent out to a bunch of students and stuff, and the first thing I tell them is, you can't have pets, right? No pets, they just cause problems. So they tell her, like, no pets, but she has a cat, but she just lies and says no cat. And anyways, first act, she wakes up, she smells something burning, and goes to the oven. There's the fucking cat in the stove. And it's right in the trailer. I'm not giving any spoilers here. And, you know, I thought, okay, this is like, I had no idea going in because I didn't even watch the trailer. All I did was read the synopsis, which pretty much says Sarah tries to start anew in LA, but her neighbors are not what they seem. So I didn't know what the fuck they were. If they were like an apartment full of crazy people or what. I didn't know. Cannibals? I'm not sure. You know, and then we realize through the first act, after she kind of gets kidnapped and then put in this room, then we find out that there's like this cult style of living going on in this apartment. So I thought, okay, you know what? I don't. Maybe I shouldn't have watched this movie because I really don't like the style of movie. But you know what? The pace kept going. And I'll tell you, by the end of it, I didn't like it. I don't want to get into too many spoilers. Like, yes, it involves a cult in this complex, but there's something more about it that we find out kind of midway through the second act, because there's a scene where as she progresses through this cult and gets conditioned to want to stay there, which is the main focal point or focus of this movie, is them conditioning her to stay there, and the things they do to her. I mean, we've all seen movies that are a lot worse than this, but I mean, there's scenes where they nail her hands to the walls and do some other stuff. You know what I mean, for shock value and stuff. And it works because she's more or less helpless, right? But there's a scene where she kind of gets conditioned to where she wants to stay in this complex, in this cult. And she gets to go into the monitoring room because every apartment in there, like everybody in this complex is part of this cult, right? And they're not really allowed outside unless you've been there for so many years, I take it. Then you can go out into the population because they have to bring people into it, right? That's the whole point of this. So, but anyways, she gets put in this monitoring room, and her and this guy, they're watching all the monitors and the screens and stuff of everybody's apartment. But then there's a camera behind her, and she asks the guy beside her, she goes, well, who's watching us? And then he says, well, we don't need to know that. So right there, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so there's something more going on here. And I immediately flashed back to one of my favorite movies, The Cube. Okay, because you get these people in this container, or this complex, right? And they don't want to escape their condition, but there's always somebody higher watching, right? So, and I don't know, for just some reason, I thought of The Cube there, how somebody's monitoring these people trying to escape, and even these people that are in the cult, conditioned to want to be there, there's always somebody watching them. No matter how high up you get in this cult, there's always somebody watching you. So, there's a lot of, no, there's not a lot. Like there's some mystery to it, because then that kind of makes you wonder, well, are we going to see who's watching them and stuff? But I don't want to give that away. There is a scene at the very end, though. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Invitation. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend that movie. It is awesome. But the very ending of this movie, with what happens, if you've seen The Invitation, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But the end of this movie, I'm not going to say it's a ripoff, but I mean, it is absolutely more or less the same as the end of The Invitation when the guy walks outside on the balcony. I don't want to say what happens here, but for the most part, I did enjoy this movie, and a lot more than I thought I would, considering, again, I don't like this style of movie, but I mean, the acting in this is stellar. I was going on IMDb, and I was looking at some of the reviews, and some people were saying the acting was bad in this, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys watching? The acting is there's really no issues here, other than, like, this movie's not going to blow you away. You're not going to stop, when it's over and be like, oh my God, that's the best movie I've ever seen. But it's definitely a movie, when you turn it off, you're like, you know what, that wasn't that bad, and I'm kind of glad that I watched it, because that's kind of how I felt. I mean, the direction is good, the editing is good, it's well written, it's well acted, and that's what I've always stressed. Even if you have like a lower budgeted movie and you can't pull off these, this mega budget style of action film or whatever, but he just keeps it condensed, he keeps it rolling. It's edited well, and I mean, the story's there. I mean, again, if you're going to tackle a story that really has nothing new in it, because honestly, this movie's been done 1,000 times. It's just been put in different settings, but good acting and a half decently written story for the actors to work off of, and they pulled it off. So, and there's a little bit of gore in here, not too much, but there's a couple cringy scenes in here, and I don't know. For the most part, I liked it. To give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 5.5, maybe a 6. I'll give it a 6, just because honestly, I don't care for these movies, and I ended up thinking it wasn't too bad. So well done, well done. So anyways, IBR, I was kind of all over the place with this review. I just, it's one of these movies where you kind of want to go into it sort of like I did, not knowing anything really about it. If you haven't watched the trailer yet, I know I play the trailer on my laptop screen here, but there's no volume or stuff. So, like, you know what? If this is the only thing that you've seen, don't watch anything else, and then just go watch this movie, because the less you know is probably like the best, because then it kind of unfolds as you go. And don't let the first act fool you. I said the pacing was good, but the first act is a smidge on the slow side. But just wait till you get into the second act. Once she actually gets in this apartment and shit starts to happen, and then it's just nonstop. And it's got a pretty cool ending. I think you'll like it, so I'm going to recommend it. So I'm going to give it a 6. It's called IBR. It's out now. If you've seen it, please chime in and let me know what you guys thought of it. And if you haven't, well, go watch it like I always say, and then come back here and let me know what you thought, because I as always, I'm curious to see what you guys think about these movies after I review them to see, you know, how accurately I am on them. So anyways, IBR, it's out now. Let me know what you think, guys, and until next time, stay scared.